Welcome to the Musical Center for the Arts. Take a moment and locate the nearest emergency exit to your seating area. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome President of Chapman University, Daniele Struppa.
Good morning. What a wonderful audience today we have. Wow, more people than I've ever seen here for this event. Somebody's waving at me from there. I don't know who they are because I have these terrible lights, but hi. Thank you so much for being here. This is always an emotion, a special emotion to be here in the Musco Center, this beautiful facility made possible by our late trustee, Paul Musco, and our current trustee, Maribel Musco. I don't know if Maribel is here. I think she was on her way, but I think it's always a very special feeling walking through this fantastic stage. So this is going to be my last presidential, state of the university. And so I think it's a good time for me to take at least a moment to express some of the gratitude I have for all of you who helped me being successful over the last 19 years. First 10 years as a provost, and then 9 years as president. My first gratitude goes to the students, because without their hopes, their lively behavior, their enthusiasm, their questions, we wouldn't be here. I know that I speak for myself, but I speak for my colleagues. I know we are here because of the students, and that's what excites us in our job. I tell everybody how much I don't like to come to work in the summer when I come and the university is empty, and it's only us, the administrators. So thank you to the students that have been so supportive and so enthusiastic over the last 19 years. And obviously, the second thank you goes to our faculty. Faculty are the intellectual core of the institution. Without their commitment to our students, their willingness to work hard for them, their intellectual pursuit of excellence, we wouldn't be here. So I'm very grateful for the partnership that I had over 19 years. Faculty can make a president, the provost's life miserable or enjoyable. They have that power. And I have to say that they've made my life as enjoyable as possible. We had obviously challenging situations here and there, but I always felt we could work very well together, and I'm grateful for that. We had a great faculty senate with wonderful presidents over the years. I think I saw Michaela here, who is the current second faculty senate president. So it's been a really great partnership. I want to thank the unsung heroes of university, which are the staff. They are here day in and day out. They're not, yes, let's hear it for them. Sometimes they operate almost in invisible ways, right? The professor gets to this office in the morning, prepares for the class, goes to class, meets the students. But behind all of that, there is a constant work of all our staff. And I know I've been privileged in working with incredible people. So I want to tell you thank you. We have been through some easy times, some more difficult times, challenges, but I always felt the staff was really behind us, committed to the success of the university. Then what we called leadership. So our deans and our senior staff. You can't lead an operation unless you get constantly advice. And I've been given fantastic advice, supportive advice from people that were not afraid of telling me when they disagreed with me and they thought I should go in a different direction, people that saw me having a blind spot and took the time to point it out to me. And so I think we had a good run, and I want to say thank you to you. And then, of course, our governing boards. Our governing boards, many of which are here, I want to thank you because so many of you are here today. It's been a tremendous pleasure to work with our trustees, our governors, our president cabinet. I would just single out one person, which is Park Kennedy, because we have been working together for the last 4 years. Park was the chair until December, and these have been 4 magnificent years. And before that, I had Wiley, but I don't think Wiley is here, because otherwise I would express to him my gratitude as well. Working with a great chair of the board is a pleasure for the president. And again, I think that the chairman of a board has the power to make life miserable or very enjoyable. And I've seen examples of both. I remember my president when I was at George Mason, sometimes he had chairman of boards that were just really complicated, let's say, to work with. So I consider myself very lucky. Thank you, Park. I'd like to ask the member of the various boards to stand up and be recognized by the community. Do you mind getting up for a second? Governing trustees, President, Cabinet, and Governor. Will you please stand up for a moment? Thank you. I think we have a couple more people before we really get started. The people I want to mention, I know Nadia Murad is here. Nadia, would you mind standing up if you're... Oh, here is Nadia. Nadia is Nobel laureate 2018 and presidential fellow here at Chapman. Thank you so much, Nadia, for being with us today. And there was another presidential fellow I want to recognize, Jack Horner. Jack, I saw you before. Oh, here is Jack. Jack is a recipient of the MacArthur's Genius Award. So we have, I think we have a good cadre of presidential fellows here for our students to work with. Okay, so I think I want to, as you know, we have a tradition every year. We pick up, I pick a theme, I give it to my students, our students in the graphic design program, the seniors, and then under the guidance of their professor, they prepare several possible posters, and then I'm the judge, quote unquote, of those posters. So I get about 20, 25 posters. I go home, I share them with my kids. We look at them, and eventually we choose the award-winning poster. In this case, the theme that I gave was Rinker, the new Rinker campus, I mean, the expansion of our Rinker campus. You all can pick up a copy of this beautiful poster on your way out and display it at your home. And the artist here is Susie Cullen, who has a BFA in graphic design. Susie couldn't be here today, but I know because we corresponded that she is on Zoom watching us. So I think let's give Susie a round of applause. Another important acknowledgement is our employers. I was talking once with our chairman emeritus, Don Sodaro, who is here in front of me right now, and we were talking about what does the university work for? Who are the customers of the university? What are the parents, are the students? And he made very clear the point that the real customers are our employers, because we train students and then they need to find a place in society. And so we are very grateful to all the people, all the companies that you see listed here that trust us to provide them with strong partners for their work. Can I ask all the representatives of these companies to stand up, please? I think you're here in the line 3, 4, 5, 6. Wow. Thank you. Thank you for trusting our students. The fact that you are here seems to indicate to me that you've been happy with the student that you hired. And that if there are any students here, these are the kind of people you want to talk to. That's what I would tell my daughter, except she's in Europe right now, supposedly in a study abroad program. She's supposedly in Sevilla, but I get pictures from Florence tonight, the Canary Island last week, Dublin, Prague. So I'm wondering how many hours she's spending in the classroom, but I'll ask the question at the end of the semester. So let me begin starting with a little bit of mid-year update. This has been an interesting year. Interesting usually means a little complicated. You may remember in August I was on this stage meeting with the faculty retreat, and I brought up the issue that we were not reaching our enrollment targets for the year. And so that was forcing us to make some adjustment in the budget. And that's really not the way you want to get started with the year. The reason for the complexity was that the federal government put a new project in place and the changing of the federal form for financial aid. We see a couple of slides about that later on, but they botched the process completely. And so we were unable to to package our students. And that led us to tremendous delays, and at the end of the day, a decline in enrollment. So over the summer and the fall, I met several times with faculty and staff to keep them up to date with what the situation was. And we did take some actions, quite significant actions. We had to close about 20 open positions, and we rerouted some money that was supposed to go in the endowment into operations. So we had to really exercise our control over the budget. But I'm really happy to tell you now that we are mid of the year. We now have a pretty clear sense of what the end of the year looks like, and we are really going to close under budget, which is obviously the job that the board gives me, and so I'm very proud of that. And in fact, we're going to be doing sufficiently well that one of the things that we were forecasted, which was the closing of another 30 staff positions, will not happen. So we are able to really open up in ways that just 5 months ago we weren't sure we could do. So I'm very happy about that. The financial number you see here, they're very good. We have now $1.8 billion in net asset, which is a growth of about 60 million over last year. So to grow 60 million in a year that is supposedly a challenging year, it really is a demonstration of the tremendous strength of the institution. Our endowment is 60 million ahead of last year, is 860 versus 800 million. And that's one of the, I think, big success stories for the university. Now, I get often people asking me, why are these numbers so important? Daniele, you keep telling them to us every year, but we really don't see any of this money, right? It's somewhere. Well, the reason why these numbers are important, they're the reason why we have been able to face significant challenges over and over again and do every time very well. You remember when we had the pandemic. The pandemic devastated many universities. It didn't devastate us. We didn't let anybody go, and we were able to conclude the year successfully, in fact, ahead of budget. We had a challenge last year with the FAFSA, the Federal Form for Financial Aid, and we overcame that challenge too. That's why these numbers are so important. They're important because we have a credit rating, like all of you. You have a FICO score, and we have a credit rating from Moody. And whenever Moody looks at us, we got reiterated our previous rating, and we get compliments on our fiscal stability and fiscal controls. That's a very important thing. And ultimately, these are the numbers that allow us to make financial operations which are advantageous to the institution. We recently refinanced about $100 million of bonds, and we were able to get a tremendously good interest rate because of this. Just like when you refinance your home, your credit rating is an important data to see what kind of interest you can get. And the same here. I mention this because sometimes these numbers look abstract, but they're not abstract. They really have impact on our operation on a daily basis. So this is our application picture. So you see some decline from a couple of years ago. We went from 16,000 some to 15,000. But the numbers are still, when you look at the entire growth, still very positive. And part of the decline, we discussed it before, is the FAFSA crisis, and part is the demographic change. So here you see superimposed two pictures. One, the red line is the number of students who apply, and the blue line is the number of graduates from California institutions. Of course, are on different scales. So the numbers for the graduating student from high school are in thousands, so you have 470,000 students in 2025. What is interesting to me in this picture is that when you look at the number of students graduating in 2016 and 2025, they're the same number. And yet our applications have gone up significantly as an indication of how attractive we are to the student body. So I said that we have been successful this year. Does it mean that the challenge is over? I don't think so. I think we're going to have a few years in which we're going to have to be managing very carefully. But in a way, that doesn't worry me because Chapman has demonstrated multiple times to be able to manage well. So we have the situation under control. We know what to expect. We know what's going to happen. And I think we have all the controls that are necessary to open or slow down the opening of the financial expenditures so that we can respond to any change here. The next slide is interesting because the blue line here shows you, and as of today, so this is 28th of February of every one of these years that you see there, how many students we had given financial aid offers. And so you see that the number is growing because the number of applicants grow. But when you look at last year, February 28th, we were able to send out zero financial aid offers. That explains in large part why we were so challenged. And the reason for the zero was not that we didn't want to, but it was, as I said before, the complexity with the federal government. So as we look at all of this, I think the landscape is good. It's going to be a challenging landscape, not for Chapman, but for every university really in higher education in the United States. But as I said, we have what it takes to be successful. Let me talk a little bit about academic excellence. The first slide I have here is our rankings. Now there is, everybody publishes its own rankings. So we're going to stick here with the US News and World Report. That's the one for which we have longer longitudinal data. And as you see, our overall rank is up 12 points from last year, which I think is a very good result. Last year, they changed completely the way in which the ranking were measured, so I'm really glad to see how well we're doing there. All of this gives you a sense of where we are with the university. In particular, I'm very happy to see that we are in the top 30%, 33% in best value. That's a difficult number for us because we are an expensive university. So to be up there obviously indicates that we are very successful with our students. And again, thank you to our employers for making that happen. Our professional schools are doing very well. The Dodge College remains number 4 in the nation. It's a really powerhouse. And when you are that high in the ranking, every year is a battle just to stay there. So I'm really proud of what our dean, our faculty, our students are doing there. It's really spectacular operations. The curriculum is super strong. The connection with Hollywood is very strong. The technology and the facilities are very, very good. Our business school is now the graduate program, the MBA, is number 66 in the nation. And because we made this very public, we are eager to reach the number 50 spot. It's going to take some additional effort, but we are making significant investments. We have very high-quality faculty. We have been developing new programs. As you know, because we announced them here many times, we have opened new schools without the Argyros College of Business and Economics. So I'm very optimistic on their growth as well. And the same, I'm very optimistic about the law school, which is ranked now number 108, and our target there is to be in the top 100. I don't think we're going to have to wait too long for seeing that. I won't be able to see it as a president, but I'll be able to celebrate with you when that happens, not too far in the future. Another program that I don't mention often enough is our dance. It's one of the very best dance programs in the nation. I think it's in the top 20. It's an incredible program for the quality of the student, the quality of the faculty, and now the quality of the facilities. Now, you know that a few years ago we moved into the R2 ranking, so I want to explain again what this means. R2 means high research effort. And in order to be ranked there, you have to graduate a certain number of PhDs, but the PhD are research doctorate. So other doctorates don't count. For example, the PharmD or the JD do not count as doctorate, but in this ranking, you have to do research doctorate. You have to have at least 20 or 70 to be an R1. And you have to demonstrate that you have significant research expenditures, $5 million being the limit for an R2, and at least 50 for an R1. And as you can see, we are really closer to an R1 than we are to an R2 at this point. This has been remarkable because we became R2 only 2 or 3 years ago. But the growth of our doctoral program has been phenomenal, and I am grateful to our deans here for what they've done there, to the provost for her work on it. And in terms of research expenditures, we really started from maybe a couple $1 million several years ago per year. And we moved that steadily. And notwithstanding the challenges that the external environment is providing, we are now really getting close to $50 million a year. So this is a very, very exciting development, especially because as you enter in a new category, like it was for us R2 a few years ago, you're always afraid that you enter at the bottom and maybe you're going to be squeezed out in the movement. But now we are clearly solidly in fact, moving toward the top of that. What are the areas where we have our PhD? Here, this slide shows you where we are. There is one other research doctor that we call the MPP, Math, Physics, and Philosophy. It's not listed here because it's very recent, and they only have 2 cohorts admitted to the program. But that also is going to go and add to those numbers. So the level of 50 doctoral degrees is not really, 70, I'm sorry, is not really that far away from where we are. Here, also, we've seen tremendous growth. I still remember when I applied for my job as a provost, that there was a time in which the School of Education at the time was called, and now it's the Atala College, but at the time the School of Education was trying to put forward their first PhD program. It would have been the first PhD program for Chapman University. And I got a call from Don Cardinal, that at the time was the dean, when I was still at George Mason University, talking about how to prepare for that doctorate. And then now you see how this has grown. So we are very, very proud of this. Now, the quality of our university is our faculty, our programs, our students, but also our facilities. We have a beautiful campus, and here I'm going to highlight just a few of the things that we have done recently. I'm going to begin with some of the external accolades, and the first one is for our Hilbert Museum. Mark Hilbert is here. I saw him. Oh, here he is, with a hat, so I didn't see. He's in incognito. And I know we'll talk about this a little bit later on again, but the Hilbert Museum was listed by the LA Times as one of the 8 best new architectural projects. And that's remarkable. I hope you'll find this, if you go on the web and you put LA Times best architectural projects, you see the list, and it's a tremendous honor to be there. Those of you who have not visited the museum yet, please do. Go. Let Mark know he's the best docent that you can hope to have. He knows every piece inside out, and he loves them, and he's going to be happy to give you a tour. It's really a tremendous facility. It's good for our community, it's good for our faculty, it's good for our students. So thank you, Mark, for what you have done. And thank you to Colette. Colette Crepel, she's our Vice President for Campus Planning. She really has done a tremendous job in redesigning everything here on campus. I know she's not here. She is in New Orleans, I think for Mardi Gras. So President Struppa, Mardi Gras. You see how much they love me, right? So Colette, you are somewhere there. I hope you're watching, so congratulations and thank you for your tremendous work. And this is a particular meaningful slide to me, because I remember this was November 2005, and I came to Chapman to do the interview for the job of provost. And I kind of liked what I saw. I was particularly happy to look at the financial strength of the institution, because I knew that I could use that, we could use that to advance in different ways and more academic ways. But at night I go home, I go to our hotel, and my wife was with me, and she said, "So what do you think?" And I said, "Well, I like the place, I like the people, I was very taken by everybody I met. But, you know, I visited one of these colleagues, and their labs are really not what we can work with. These are not labs that we can use for our students." The colleague, I don't know if he's here now, is Bill Wright. Bill, you're here by any chance? No. Okay, so he was, I remember my pride in him, because I visited his lab, which was supported by a National Science Foundation grant. It was like a closet. And in that little lab, there were several fish bowls where he was having some sea slugs, because he was doing research on memory and how those sea slugs learn. So I was really impressed at how my colleague, Bill Wright, was able to perform high-quality research, national-level research, in a space that was really not suitable for that. And now, the Princeton Review actually classified us as the #5 best science lab in the nation. This is really a demonstration of the effort. Yes. And this is on our trustees that provided the financial support. It's on our faculty who designed the building and that provide the research to fill those laboratories. So this really is a university success. It's not a single person. It's really tremendous. And for me, every time we walk into Keck, you know, as you know, I take every potential parent, I take them to Keck, because it's one of the most beautiful buildings we have on campus. And these labs are really incredible. So that's really very, very exciting. We outgrew some of the space we had on campus, so we acquired the property several years ago. It's a school, it's a former high school called Kilifer. Kilifer was the name of the principal of the school, and we have redesigned it to make it the house of our Institute for Quantum Studies. It's a spectacular facility. We're going to do the opening. The official opening is going to be in August, you know, ribbon cutting and everything like this. But right now, you can already go and walk by, and it's only 2 blocks from campus. It's absolutely, absolutely beautiful. And this is something else where I have to say Colette has done a tremendous job. It cost us $20 million to build this facility, $5 million to buy it, and it was falling apart. and then 50 million to put it in condition to house some of the most advanced quantum research that you can imagine. So really something to be proud of. Our Dodge College, I mentioned before how technologically advanced we are. This is probably our latest project, for which we already have secure complete funding, thank you to the support of a very generous support from the Don family. And we now have we're going to have the technology that you see here in the slide on the right, completed by next January. I think I touched something here. And so, again, a facility that I think we should all be proud of, but it's very important for our students because they can learn in something that is at the highest professional level, and then being able to apply those skills in their jobs. Okay, this is a very important year. There are going to be a lot of leadership changes. I want to highlight a few of the new people who come in and some of the people that are leaving us. I'm going to start with Marie Williams. Marie is here. She's the new vice president for strategic marketing and communication. She was the vice president before at the University of Denver, vice president for strategic marketing, and the University of St. Joseph, as well as in the private sector. She joined us in June, and I don't think there's been a single day without some kind of emergency or crisis that she had to deal with. I love working with Marie. She's one of the best partners that the president could have. She's on point, super proactive, and she has advised me many times, saving me from saying stupid stuff in the wrong time. So, thank you, Marie. That's the role of the job, is to prevent the president from saying stupid stuff. And it's not always easy, depending on the president, of course. My predecessor never would have said anything stupid, but I'm more prone to that. Hima, somebody else who has a huge role. Where is Hima? I thought she was here. Maybe she, or maybe. Oh, it's up there. Okay, thank you. Is our new general counsel. She comes from us. She spent 10 years at Caltech, and then more recently she was counsel at Laverne. And she also has an incredibly difficult job. And she's been here since January. And just like Marie, there has been a single day that she and I don't talk. And she, in many ways, she has a similar job in preventing me from making mistakes. But is an incredibly valuable counsel to me, to Matt, to the provost, and to Harold Hewitt. So we are really happy to have you, Hima. Thank you for joining us. And then we have the new dean of the College of Performing Arts, Anne Hogan. Anne, oh, here she is. Anne has been also dean before. She actually was the founding dean at Ithaca College, for the College of Music, Theater, and Dance. She was a professional dancer, and she has 3 degrees, the first from Harvard and the other 2 from Brown University. She is not only the Dean of Performing Arts, but now she assumed the additional responsibility of the management of the Musco Center. So this is a really big job, and we're really very excited. I know your faculty are excited, and we are all excited to have you on board. So 3 fantastic additions just in the last 10 months or so. Some people are leaving us. Ellen Norris. Ellen, can you stand up for a second? Oh, here she is. Helen was hired by Harold back in 2014 as our CIO. And this is one of those jobs that you don't really see necessarily on a day-to-day basis, right? It's working in the background. Except, at some point, we had the pandemic. And so, all of a sudden, she was the most important person on campus. And those of you may remember, when we had the pandemic, I sent a message. The message was sent immediately after the governor put the entire state in lockdown. And we gave literally 1 week of time for a complete rehauling of instruction on campus. We took advantage, I think, of the spring break. And I think that that's, Ellen could speak for herself, but I think that that is probably in your career the most incredible achievement that you had. You took a campus where we pride ourselves for personalized education, which means you go to class, you talk to your students, and everything is done there, into a remote campus without losing the quality of what we did. So that was, to me, a stellar achievement for which we will always be grateful to you, not me, but the entire community. She's also, yes. She also has led another project that also is somewhat invisible, except when she does something that annoys us all, and we'll talk about that in a second, and that's cybersecurity. It's invisible because her job is to prevent stuff from happening, it's not to do things. And she's really a renowned expert across the country, to the point that she was asked to testify in front of the Senate and Congress. And then the last thing I want to mention about her is that she became responsible for the library. We moved the library to work under her, and she really modernized and made a lot of new innovations for the way in which the library can represent the future of the institution. So thank you, Ellen, for your service. You will be missed, but I know you will stay in touch, and we're going to be seeing each other again. Mike Pelli. Oh. Oh, Mike. So you see that I have a little lacrosse stick there. I have it because I know that the thing that mattered the most to Mike in all of his life accomplishments, there are many, is that he founded the lacrosse team here and he was the coach for 5 years. So. It's kind of hard to describe what Mike does, because we all know it's not an invisible job. His ability has been in shaping the classes, because you just don't send out application, people apply, you admit, and we go on, but it's to find a way to create the class that best advances the institution. And Mike has done just an outstanding job. It took us from being a regional institution, a mid-level institution, to what we are now. So I've received several emails from my trustees, many of which are sitting here in front of me, bemoaning the fact that you're going to be leaving. But it is what it is. I think his wife retired, and so he wants to be able to spend time with her, and that's to earn the well-deserved rest. I mean, he's been a gigantic figure here. So thank you, Mike, for your many years of service here. Another big loss this year is that we're going to lose our Executive Vice President for Advancement. He's moving on, and so we're going to have to fill that very important position. And that's an important position because, as you know, we have a very aggressive, comprehensive campaign. We are doing very well. We'll hear about that in a second. But that's going to be a very important position to cover. And the good thing, of course, is that we are not really losing Matt, because he's going to be our president starting with September 2nd. And before I ask him to come in, I want to say a couple of words about him. I don't think the university could be in better hands. Matt and I have worked together for many years. First, he was the dean of the law school, and we had many interactions. The law school is obviously a sort of a very special, very particular college, and so he and I used to interact quite a bit on various issues related to the school. We went through many challenges together, and then a few years ago, 4 years ago, he joined me as the EVP for Advancement. He performed at an incredible level, but it's not just the performance. He is a person of integrity, great honesty, great vision, passion for the university. He loves Chapman with all of his being. And I think that this is going to be really a spectacular future that waits for us. And now with this, I'd like him to join me and continue this presentation. Please welcome our 14th president.
Got to get my face off of there. Before I start, I'd actually like to also say to Helen and to, where's Mike? And to Mike, thank you for your many, many years of service. Both of you will be tremendously missed, but Chapman will always be your home, and I hope you will be here and be around and be present and be available to a new president for some consultation from time to time. So I want to do two things today. And first, let me just say, I can't tell you how excited I am about the future, but that's for another day. Today, I want to do two things. The first thing I want to do is talk about our campaign. As Daniele mentioned, it's the most ambitious campaign we've ever embarked on at Chapman University, $500 million. To put that in context, our last biggest campaign we did was $200 million. So it's quite an ambitious undertaking, but I'm very proud to say as we are here today that we have exceeded $400 million towards our $500 million goal. Our goal is to finish up in 2028, so I can confidently stand here and tell you I think we will exceed that goal, and I think we will close it out early. So things are going very well. But what's in particular inspiring to me, to be punny, is that we are really advancing our strategic plan. We're in the middle of our Path to Greatness strategic plan, which is the first in a series of 3 strategic plans, which really aim to help elevate Chapman's sort of standing in university to become one of the truly elite institutions in higher education, in higher education in America. And because of that, we have these really ambitious goals that need support, that need funding. And when you look at the gifts that I highlight here, but indeed every single gift that we get does this, it's furthering our academic excellence. It's supporting faculty in their initiatives. It's supporting our students in their success, and it's connecting us even more fully with the community. And on some of the gifts that I highlight, you'll see that many of these gifts do all of those things to varying degrees. So those are the 3 points I just made. So the first one I want to highlight is the Simon Scholars from the Simon Foundation. This is part of our Physician's Assistance Program, and it provides 10 full scholarships a year from students here in Orange County. Full scholarships to go to get their degree in our really top-ranked, super competitive, hard to get into Physician's Assistance Program. And what's great about it is they commit then to staying in Orange County and serving the healthcare needs of the communities from which they came. It's definitely worth a clap. As many of you may know, there's a greater and increasing need for healthcare workers, for frontline healthcare workers in Orange County. We're an aging population, unlike many counties in the state, and this in particular is a way for us to be not only training the workforce of the future, but to keep local talent here. Cal Optima was so inspired by this program that they gave us a $5 million grant to do something very similar. Again, for Orange County students, matriculate into our Physician's Assistance Program to get support and then commit to staying in Orange County. This is really transformational when we look at the healthcare ecosystem, and it shows just how much both Dean Janine Hill and Dean Ren Ostrom and all of our colleagues at the Rinker campus are really embedding themselves in the healthcare ecosystem, finding those opportunities for our students and helping meet the workforce development needs in Orange County and beyond. The next is the Masson Family Foundation gave us a really exciting gift that touched 3 different areas of the university. The first is a grad scholarship. And that grad scholarship can be for any graduate or professional schools to provide access for students pursuing their graduate or professional degrees here at Chapman. Second part of the gift was our MPP program, which is our new doctoral program, math, physics, and philosophy. And what that does is help not only elevate sort of a very distinctive doctoral program, but also an area of strength from us from a research and scholarly perspective, and provides a fellowship to really expand that program. And then finally, Pierre and his wife both played water polo, so they've provided funding for the water polo program. And as I walked over from the President's Circle breakfast here, I was watching, we were actually in the midst of a water polo game, which I found somewhat symbolic. This fall, we also announced a $1 million chair in free speech. And this is something that Chapman obviously has always been known for, and it's a cornerstone of who we are and where we place our values. The Fletcher Jones Foundation generously gave us this gift because they see how Chapman has been resolute in sticking by its commitment to free speech. And I'm looking, is Dr. Katz here? Dr. Vicki Katz of our School of Communication is the inaugural chair holder. And I'll be coming back to her in a moment because this was step one in a multi-part project of what we're going to try to do to really advance both the values of free speech and civil discourse, both on our campus and in the community. In December, on this very stage, alumnus Alex Hayden gave a transformational $5 million gift to name the Hayden School of Real Estate in our Arduous College of Business and Economics. As Daniele mentioned, we're trying to push the Arduous College up to a top 50 business school, and this will be one of the ways that helps it. Orange County is the epicenter for real estate, and we have a terrific master's in real estate program that Alex actually helped launch. And I think this is an opportunity for us as we move forward, not just to strengthen the business school, to build greater bridges into the community, but also an area of distinction that we can take advantage of. We have, our chairman emeritus just realized he's on the screen. So we have this incredible museum, the Hilbert Museum of California Art, and it's one of the many ways in which we really engage the community. I'm going to talk more about it in a moment, but it's not only a crown jewel in the city of Orange, the city loves it. It's really a way in which we can help educate and introduce Chapman to so many people, both in Orange County and beyond. And we're very grateful to Don and his wife Dee Dee for naming the south wing of the Hilbert Museum for California Art. Thank you, Don, and thank you, Dee Dee. Talking about the community, we received a $3 million endowment to name the Art and Writing Contest in our Rogers Center for Holocaust Education from the Samueli Foundation. This is a program which works with middle and high school students locally, nationally, and internationally to help them learn about the horrors of the Holocaust and to help them tell the stories of the witnesses, of those who survived the Holocaust, so that as generations continue, we continue to tell the stories to make sure that that kind of horror never happens again. So we're very grateful for the Samueli Foundation for that, and for the terrific work that Dr. Marilyn Herron and all of her colleagues in the Rogers Center do day in and day out. Thankfully, the Samueli Foundation wasn't done with us. They also gave a $1.85 million gift to support the OR initiative, which is an initiative that Dr. Katz will be launching. And this is both geared partly to campus and partly into the community. This is really trying to take from a bedrock of free speech to really build on the values of civil discourse, to imbue it not just in our culture and in our, on our campuses, but also in the community. Society's really struggling with this. They're struggling with free speech and they're struggling with civil discourse. People can't seem to talk to each other. Our political system surely is struggling with that. We can be part of that solution. We've always had a commitment to free speech, and you can't have civil discourse if you don't have free speech. But how do we set up an environment? How do we model? How do we live out those values of being able to disagree but respecting one another, bringing people from different viewpoints together to talk about issues, to analyze them, to really think about them? That's the purpose of education. And so Dr. Katz has a very ambitious program, not just to help do that here, and we will have speakers come onto campus to do that, but also to go into the community, to middle schools and high schools, to work with teachers and students, to help build that toolkit to have that kind of civil discourse. So thank you, Dr. Katz, for being a leader in this important area for Chapman. So I said I wanted to do two things. That was number one. The second is I'd like to talk about somebody. To know Daniele is to love him. And he's kind of like a pop star, right? He's known by his one name, Daniele, kind of like Beyonce. Maybe that's where the comparisons end, but still, he's known by his first name. But truly, it's hard in any amount of time to really capture what Daniele has meant to Chapman University. And I'm going to try, with the time I have, to really talk about three different areas where I think he's really helped make Chapman what it is today. And the first is academic excellence, the second is the financial strength, and then the third is his leadership. So I'm going to take us through those briefly here, if you will indulge me. One might even call it the Struppa effect. For 10 years, he was the provost/chancellor, and then became president almost 9 years ago. And when you look at that horizon, and on the academic side, I will take it from his time starting as provost through today, you will see what a dramatic, incredible, impactful, and transformative effect Daniele has had on Chapman. So one way we look at academics is how rich a curriculum, how rich offerings we have. And Daniele, when he came here, was provost of that first year, a regional university that had some professional schools that was largely liberal arts focused, had business school and what have you. And he launched, in his time since he came here 19 years ago, 6 schools and colleges. To note a few here, he took us into the sciences. He took us into the Schmid College for Science and Technology, building out really an emphasis, a strength in the sciences. That dovetailed to the health sciences, led by our Dean, Janine Hill, and then later our School of Pharmacy, our current Dean, Ran Ostrom. That's helped build out the Rinker campus. We went from having none of that to having a really robust ecosystem in all 3 of those areas. But he wasn't done. He also took us into engineering, both, of course, Schmid and Fowler Engineering in our Keck Center for Science and Engineering. He's also passionate about the performing arts, launched COPA, which, of course, has 3 distinctive areas of theater, dance, and music. And, of course, our terrific School of Communication, which is taking all sorts of exciting leadership roles on campus. 6. A lot of universities don't even have 6, right? He launched 6 of them. Look at the growth we've experienced under Daniele Struppa's time as provost and president. We more than doubled the size of our full-time faculty. We had tremendous growth in undergraduate students, but I want to draw your attention to the bottom 2 numbers. Our average student to full-time faculty ratio went significantly down during his time, and even our average class size went down. So even as we grew schools and colleges, even as we grew degrees, even as we became a mid-sized private nationally ranked university, we stayed true to who we are, personalized education of distinction, our faculty in small classes with our students, helping them learn and helping them launch their careers. He also took us into research, and this was significant because this is part of what took us from being a regionally ranked institution to being a nationally ranked R2 comprehensive university. Our research expenditures, which I'll show you in a moment, grew dramatically. 2 million to 48 million. We had no PhD programs, now we have 5, and our citations from our faculty just started to soar. As Daniele mentioned earlier, we are really well ensconced in the middle of the R2 pack in terms of where we are, and we just broke in like 5 years ago. It's really significant and speaks volumes about his commitment, his dedication to research, and to making us really this holistic university that we see today. Look at that growth. And you can see the early work he did as provost and then as president as we scaled the investment we made in research dollars. And research is really important because not only does it help put us into national rankings, the research that our faculty do, the work that they do helps put our name more and more out there in terms of those who are voting on us in the rankings, in terms of those who are recommending people either to work here or send their sons or daughters here. It's a very, very important factor. And then you obviously see the corresponding growth in faculty citations. So you look at all of that, and you see he opened all these schools and colleges, really built out our research profile in a very impressive way. And then again, these are some points of highlight for academic excellence, moved us into the national rankings, inventions way up, we became Phi Beta Kappa, and we had our first Rhodes Scholar. Most universities don't do that in a century, right? 19 years of leadership right there. Something I am learning quickly as a president in training is financial strength of the institution is key. Looking at all the trustees, looking and nodding. And so I want to take from his time as president and take a look at how he has continued to strengthen Chapman financially. Because when we have those resources, when we have those financial strength, that's what helps our schools and colleges and our faculty flourish. That's what helps give our students even greater opportunities. That's what really helps elevate our work. So this goes back to 2018. If you go a little bit before that, when he took over as president, we were below $1 billion in net assets. We basically doubled our net assets and now sitting at 1.8 billion. That's a lot for a university our size. Endowment has grown dramatically. This was a priority Daniele set when he started as president. He said, we are going to build the endowment. And he's right. It's a smart strategy for us because it provides funding in perpetuity to help enhance programs, to help expand opportunities for students, and very importantly, it provides a lot of scholarship resources so that we can attract the best and brightest students, some of whom may not otherwise be able to afford a Chapman education. Look at that growth from 300 million when he took over in 2016 to over 860 million, almost tripled the amount of money in the endowment. Significant for us in terms of our strength. Another indication of the strength of our financial footing is how we've been able to really expand our campus footprint. And I'd like to echo Daniele's praise for Colette. She is absolutely a visionary, and when you see the buildings she has built, they're not only beautiful, but they are very intentional about how they help us achieve our goals, both in terms of our teaching, programming, and our resources for students. So I'll start with the Keck Center, which obviously you saw the top 5 science labs, but it's a remarkable building. If you've never been in it, go take a walk through it. It just is so impressive to see the kind of resources and space that our students and faculty in science, in engineering, and all the other students who choose to study in that beautiful space have. Within Keck Center, we have the Swenson Hall of Engineering, which we just opened a few years ago. In fact, it was like one of the first events I ever went to as EVP and Chief Advancement Officer. And I think Cheryl and Allie are here, or are they not here anymore? There they are. Thank you both for the Swenson family for this wonderful, wonderful space. We also have the Sandy Simon Center for Dance. We have one of the top dance programs in the country, and now we took the old packing house. We made sure to keep its historical character and distinction, but we also then built a facility that truly emulates the talent and excellence of our dance program. Our Hilbert Museum for California Art. And where's Mark? Mark, I smiled when I saw this, even though it made me a little sad to think of Jan, but what really inspired me is to think about the vision that you and she put together to build this amazing museum, to expand this amazing museum, and to make it free for all, to make it a community asset, and to be something that Chapman could be not only proud of, but that helps really advance our reputation. So we miss her every day, but we thank you both for your vision, and know that her legacy, your family's legacy, will live on forever in this beautiful, beautiful museum. Thank you, Mark. You also saw the slide before that showed the growth in students. Well, we need somewhere to put them, right? So during Daniele's time as president, we not only built the K Residence Hall across from Dodge College, but we acquired 2 apartment buildings in the city of Anaheim and made them, respectively, Chapman Grand and Chapman Court. I was walking in with some parents from Boston to the President's Circle breakfast, and we were both sort of marveling that like none of us had ever lived in apartments that are quite that nice. So we do provide very nice apartment options for our students. The last building I want to talk about, Daniele mentioned before, called it Killefer. Not wrong, the Killefer School is there, and we will still use the historical name for it, but the entire property, including the new building that we built on it, or we are completing building on it, is actually called the Daniele C. Struppa Research Park. An interesting bit of history about actually the Killefer School is it actually has, in terms of school desegregation, a history that predates Brown versus Board of Education, and we're going to actually have that history noted within the building. For our use and what we are using it for, the Institute for Quantum Studies, all these incredible labs that, honestly, I have no idea what those things do, but it's pretty darn impressive, right? Our Institute for Quantum Studies has some of the greatest physicists in the entire world. The Institute for Quantum Studies has some of our tremendous researchers, and now it has this building, these 2 buildings, that are just remarkable space for them, for our students, for our graduate students. So you see that we continue with this financial strength that Daniele has really imbued throughout all that we do, the opportunities to provide our students, our faculty, and our whole community with these beautiful spaces. Now I want to talk about Daniele's leadership for a moment. The thing that I think impresses me most about him is he really just tries to lead by example. He, as many of you know, continued teaching both when he was chancellor and as president, and in fact, oftentimes teaches first-year students so that they get the opportunity to learn from the president in their first semester at Chapman. He always stays rooted in what brought him to the academy, his love of teaching and his love, of course, of research. It's one of those funny things. You always know what makes people tick, right, when they light up. Daniele talking about his math research lights him up. He just gets all excited. His eyes get big. He gets animated. There are lots of things he's passionate about. I'm not sure there's anything more so than research for math. And so we're really fortunate that after a sabbatical, he will come back and continue his research and teaching here at Chapman. But his leadership. President's job is hard. I'm not just saying that to inoculate everyone, a president's job is really hard. I see that every day working with him. And yet he always keeps his cool. He cares so deeply about the people he works with, about the students that we serve, the alumni who come back and stay engaged with the university. He really cares about people. It's genuine. It's why so many of us love him so much. And there's always resources and people who can help you both internally and externally when you're a president and you're trying to navigate things. Except when there's a pandemic. There's no playbook for that, right? And yet, he took us through the pandemic, and literally we came out the other side a stronger university because of his leadership. I know I'm not the only person in this room or watching online, or who's not watching online, who would call Daniele a friend or mentor. He's one of the most special people I know, and Chapman University wouldn't be what it is today without him. Ladies and gentlemen, will you join me in welcoming back President Daniele Struppa?
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Matt is way too generous, you're way too kind, but I really appreciate it. I think this concludes our presentation for today, and have a wonderful rest of the day. Thank you very much. Thank you.
you.